The massive spaceship Horizon floated quietly in the darkness of space. Inside, Daho Kim stroked the orange fur of his cat, Miso, who purred softly on his lap. Daho was not supposed to have a cat on board, but the crew let it slide. Everyone liked Miso, and she helped keep the mood light during their long mission. "Time to hide you again, little one," Daho whispered. He gently placed Miso in his private quarters. Today was important. Humans were about to meet aliens for the first time. Daho was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. At 35, he was one of the best in his field. That's why he was chosen to be the first to speak with the Koru, the alien species that had contacted Earth 3 months ago. The Koru ship had just docked with the Horizon. Daho straightened his uniform and walked to the meeting room. His heart beat fast. No human had ever seen a Koru face to face before. The doors slid open. Captain Su stood with 3 Koru. They were tall, with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. They had 4 arms and large dark eyes that took in everything. "This is Daho Kim, our xenobiology expert," Captain Su said. Daho bowed slightly. "Welcome to the Horizon." The tallest Koru stepped forward. "I am Tal, ambassador of the Koru Collective. We are pleased to make official contact with your species." Tal's voice was deep and smooth. He spoke perfect English, thanks to the translation tech they had developed after studying human broadcasts. For the next hour, they talked about basic things, where each species came from, how their ships worked, what they ate. The meeting was going well. Then Daho's communicator buzzed. He looked down and saw a message from his friend Jun. Miso got out, heading toward meeting room. Daho felt his stomach drop. Before he could excuse himself, a small orange shape darted through the doors and jumped onto the table. Miso sat in the middle of the table, her tail swishing as she stared at the Koru. The room went silent. Captain Su's face turned pale. The Koru stepped back. Their 4 hands moved to the weapons at their sides. "What is this creature?" Tal asked, his voice now harsh. Daho quickly picked up Miso. "I'm very sorry. This is Miso, a cat. A type of animal from Earth. She's my pet." "Pet." Tal repeated the word as if it tasted bad. "You keep other living beings as possessions." Daho stroked Miso, who had started purring again. "Not as possessions. As companions. Many humans have animal companions. We care for them, and they give us comfort and friendship." The 3 Koru looked at each other. Their faces showed what seemed like disgust. "You mean you choose to live with lesser animals?" "For what purpose?" Tal asked. "They're not lesser to us," Daho said, feeling defensive. "They're family." Tal made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Family, with a simple animal that cannot even speak. This is unexpected." The other Koru, who had been quiet until now, spoke. "Ambassador, humans are known to have many strange customs. Perhaps this is one we should study." Tal nodded slowly. "Yes, Ren. I agree." He turned to Daho. "We would like to learn more about these pets and why humans keep them." Captain Su stepped in. "We would be happy to teach you about our relationship with Earth animals. It's an important part of human culture." As they continued talking, Daho noticed how Ren kept staring at Miso with great interest. Something about that stare made Daho hold Miso a little tighter. Later, in his quarters, Daho recorded in his journal. "First contact successful, but the Koru seemed troubled by Miso. They don't understand our bond with animals. They called it primitive. I worry about how they'll react when they learn how deep these bonds go for humans. Something about the way Ren looked at Miso makes me uneasy. I'll need to watch him carefully." Miso jumped up next to him and curled into a ball. Daho smiled and scratched behind her ears. No matter what the aliens thought, he knew there was nothing primitive about caring for another living being. 3 weeks after first contact, Earth prepared to welcome the Koru. A grand reception was set up in Seoul, where world leaders would meet the alien delegation. Hannah Park checked her reflection one last time. At 29, she was the youngest linguist on the diplomatic team. Her job was to help the Koru understand human expressions and customs. She smoothed down her blue formal suit and gave a quick pat to her two cats, Bomb and Nubby, who watched her from the bed. "Be good while I'm gone," she told them. "This meeting is very important." Hannah had studied the Koru language for weeks, though most Koru spoke English through their translators. Understanding their native language helped her catch things the translators missed. At the reception hall, humans and Koru mixed awkwardly. Hannah noticed Daho Kim, the xenobiologist from the first contact team. He looked nervous. "How are things going?" she asked him. "Strange," Daho said. "The Koru keep asking about pets. They seem fixated on it." Before Hannah could respond, Ambassador Tall approached with another Koru. "Ah, Daho Kim. I was hoping to see you," Tall said. "This is Ren, our chief scientist. He has many questions about human-animal relationships." Ren bowed slightly. "I am fascinated by your custom of keeping animals in your homes. On our world, we use animals for food or work, but never for companionship." "It's more than a custom," Hannah said. "Many humans form deep emotional bonds with their pets." Ren tilted his head. "Emotional bonds with lesser beings? How strange." The conversation was interrupted when a woman entered with a service dog. The large golden retriever wore a special vest showing it was a working animal. "What is that animal doing here?" Tall asked, his forehands twitching. "That's Yuna with her service dog, Danji," Daho explained. "Danji helps Yuna navigate. She has limited vision." Ren moved closer to observe. "You mean the animal assists with a physical weakness?" "Yes," Hannah said. "Service animals help humans with many different needs." Throughout the evening, more questions came. Why did humans speak to animals that couldn't answer back? Why did they spend money on animal health care? Why did they grieve when pets died? Later, at a private dinner, Hannah sat with several Koru scientists. She showed them pictures of her cats on her phone. "These are my cats, Bomb and Nabi. I rescued them from the streets 3 years ago." "Rescued?" a Koru named Lith asked. "Were they valuable?" "Not in terms of money," Hannah explained. "They needed help, and now they're part of my family." Ren, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke. "This seems like a biological weakness in humans. You care for creatures that give little in return." Hannah felt her face grow warm. "They give plenty in return. Comfort, companionship, reduced stress. Studies show pet owners often live longer, healthier lives." "Interesting," Ren said, making notes on a small device. "A symbiotic relationship then, not just emotional." After dinner, Hannah found Daho again. "I don't like how that scientist Ren talks about pets," she said quietly. Daho nodded. He asked if he could study human-pet relationships. The diplomats agreed. "They think it will help the Koru understand us better." "Something feels off," Hannah said. "The way he called it a biological weakness." "I know," Daho sighed. "But this is a historic opportunity. We need to work with them." On her way home, Hannah couldn't shake her worry. When she opened her apartment door, Bomb and Nabi ran to greet her, rubbing against her legs and purring. Hannah picked them both up, holding them close. "Some things they'll never understand," she whispered to her cats. "How could I explain that you two saved me as much as I saved you?" She didn't know that soon the Koru would put their bond to the test in ways she could never imagine. 1 month after the reception in Seoul, the Koru officially requested permission to study human-pet relationships. The United Earth Council quickly approved, hoping to strengthen ties with their new alien allies. Jin Woo Lee stood outside the new research facility built specially for the Koru project. At 40 years old, Jin Woo had served as a security officer on space mining operations before a bad accident 5 years ago. Now he worked in diplomatic security, a quieter job that let him stay on Earth. "Officer Lee, thank you for coming," Dr. Ren said. approaching with 2 other Koru. You will be our security liaison for this project. Jinwoo bowed slightly. I look forward to working with you. What he didn't say was that he had been chosen because of Dubu, his black cat. The Koru had specifically requested security staff who owned pets. Dubu was more than just a pet to Jinwoo. After the mining accident, Jinwoo suffered from terrible nightmares and panic attacks. Doctors called it PTSD. Nothing helped until he adopted Dubu, then a skinny kitten from a shelter. Somehow, the cat's presence calmed him. When Jinwoo woke up shaking in the middle of the night, Dubu would climb onto his chest, purring until Jinwoo's heart stopped racing. Now, Jinwoo followed Ren through the facility. Inside, Koru scientists had set up various testing areas. Some rooms had toys and play areas. Others had medical equipment and scanners. We will study how humans and animals interact, Ren explained. We will monitor heart rates, brain activity, and hormone levels. Jinwoo noticed that Dr. Hana Park, the linguist from the diplomatic team, was also there with her 2 cats. Officerly, she greeted him. I see you brought Dubu. Jinwoo nodded. In the carrier at his feet, Dubu mewed softly. The Koru asked me to join the study. Hana explained. I think they want my language skills to help interpret results. Over the next few days, Jinwoo watched the tests. At first, they seemed harmless. Humans played with their pets while the Koru recorded data. They tested how people responded when reunited with their animals after separation. But Jinwoo began to notice something strange. The Koru seemed especially interested in stress responses. They designed tests to make pets seem like they were in trouble, then recorded how humans reacted. In one test, they put Bomb, one of Hana's cats, in a clear box and pumped in harmless but scary-looking smoke. Hana's heart rate spiked, and she tried to break the box open, even though the researchers told her it was safe. Fascinating, Ren said, watching the monitors. Her strength increased by 30% when she believed her pet was in danger. Later that week, Jinwoo brought Dubu for testing. The old cat was patient, as the Koru attached small sensors to his fur. These will monitor his vital signs, Ren explained. That night, Jinwoo noticed Dubu acting strangely. The normally calm cat seemed agitated, pacing and mewing loudly. What's wrong, buddy? Jinwoo picked up Dubu, feeling through his fur. He found a small lump where one of the sensors had been. It hadn't been there before. The next day, Jinwoo arrived at the facility to find Daeho Kim arguing with 2 Koru researchers. What do you mean Miso escaped? That's impossible. She never leaves my side. Daeho's face was red with anger and worry. We are sorry, one Koru said. The cat managed to open its carrier and run away. We are searching for it. Jinwoo approached Hana, who was watching from the side. Something's not right, he whispered. Dubu has been acting strange since they put those sensors on him. And now Daeho's cat is missing. Hana nodded slowly. I checked the files they let me see. They keep talking about human defensive responses and exploitable attachments. I don't think this is just a cultural study anymore. Jinwoo felt a chill as he watched Ren calmly taking notes while Daeho continued to search frantically for his missing cat. We need to find out what they're really doing here, Jinwoo said quietly. 3 days had passed since Miso disappeared. Daeho looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. He had put up posters around the research center and nearby areas, but there was no sign of his cat. Hana found him sitting alone in the break room, staring at his coffee. Any news? She asked gently. Daeho shook his head. Nothing. It's like she vanished. Hana sat down across from him. I need to show you something, she whispered. She slid a small device across the table. Put this in your ear. It blocks Koru listening tech. Once Daeho put the earpiece in, Hana leaned closer. Last night I gained access to some of the Koru's private files. I was translating some documents and found something concerning. What? Daeho asked. The Koru military is involved in this research. They're not studying our bond with pets to understand us better. They're looking for weaknesses to exploit. Daho's eyes widened. You're sure? Hana nodded. Ren isn't just a scientist. He's a military strategist. His real job is to find ways to control or defeat humans if needed. At that moment, Jin Woo entered the room. He looked around quickly, then joined them. I took Dubu to a vet yesterday, Jin Woo said quietly. A human vet, not the Koru doctors. They found something embedded under his skin where the sensor was attached. What was it? Hana asked. A small device. The vet said it was releasing small amounts of a chemical into Dubu's bloodstream. Nothing immediately dangerous, but it was making him sick. Daho's hands tightened around his coffee cup. Do you think that's what happened to Miso? They took her for some experiment. I think it's possible, Jin Woo said, but I have no proof. That afternoon, Hana was working in the translation office when she overheard two Koru speaking in their native language. They didn't know she could understand them without a translator. The tests on subject M1 are proceeding well, one said. Good. And the impact on the human owner? Significant distress. Sleep patterns disrupted. Work efficiency down 40%. Excellent. Ren will be pleased. Hana kept her face calm, though her heart raced. M1 had to be Miso. They were deliberately keeping Daho's cat hidden to study his distress. Later, she met Jin Woo and Daho in the parking lot, away from the facility's cameras. I know where Miso is, she told Daho. They have her in a lab on the lower level. They're using her to study your emotional response to loss. Daho's face turned red with anger. We need to get her out. It's not that simple, Jin Woo warned. That area is highly secured. And if we tip them off that we know, we could put all our pets in danger. What do we do then? Daho asked. We gather evidence, Hana said. I'll keep translating their files. Jin Woo, can you find a way to access their security system? Jin Woo nodded. I might be able to. I worked in security systems before my accident. I'll keep acting normal, Daho said. But I want my cat back. As they talked, a small drone hovered high above them, recording their conversation. In his private lab, Ren watched the video feed with interest. So they've discovered part of our operation, he said to Tall, who stood nearby. This could complicate things. Should we stop the tests? Tall asked. No, Ren replied. This actually provides valuable data. Let's see how far these humans will go to protect their pets. It will help us understand their true capabilities. Tall looked uncertain. The Earth Council might not approve of our methods. By the time they discover the full extent of our research, it will be too late, Ren said. We'll already have what we need. In a small cage in the hidden lab, Miso meowed softly, unaware of the growing conflict centered around her. #1 week after discovering the truth about Miso, Hana, Jin Woo, and Daho were invited to a special event. The Koru were hosting a diplomatic function to showcase their research findings. Important people from both species would be there. This might be our chance to expose them, Hana said as they got ready in her apartment. Her cats, Bomb and Nabi, watched from the couch. But we still don't have solid proof, Jin Woo reminded her. Dubu sat in his lap, looking much better since the vet had removed the strange device. I just want Miso back, Daho said quietly. The event was held in the main hall of the research facility. Humans and Koru mingled while screens showed charts and images from the studies. Ambassador Tall stood at the front, ready to give a speech. Jin Woo noticed something odd about the room. The air vents are different, he whispered to Hana. They've been modified. Before she could respond, Tall began speaking. Honored guests, we are pleased to share our findings on human-animal relationships. We have learned much about this unique aspect of human culture. As Tall spoke, Jin Woo saw a fine mist begin to spray from the vents. It was so light that most people didn't notice. But Jinwoo had worked in space stations where air quality was critical. He knew something was wrong. Then he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. Coughing. Not from humans, but from animals. A service dog collapsed first. Then a therapy cat someone had brought began to shake. Bomb. Nabi. Hannah cried out. She had brought her cats to the event at the Koru's request. Now both were on the floor, struggling to breathe. People began to panic. Other pets in the room showed the same symptoms. Jinwoo rushed to Hannah's side, helping her gather her sick cats. What's happening? Daho demanded, approaching Tall. Tall looked surprised, but not concerned enough. It appears some Earth animals are having a reaction to something in the air. Our medical team will assist. This isn't a reaction, Jinwoo said firmly. Something was released into the air system. Jinwoo looked at Ren, who stood to the side, watching everything with keen interest. The Koru scientist was making notes on his device, as if this were just another experiment. Humans rushed their pets outside, away from whatever was in the air. Veterinarians who had been invited to the event began emergency treatment. How could this happen? A human diplomat demanded. Tall spread his 4 hands in a gesture of confusion. A terrible accident. We will investigate immediately. But when Hannah translated his next words to another Koru, spoken in their native language, she heard him say, "The response is even stronger than predicted." Hannah confronted him directly. This was deliberate. You're testing how we react when our pets are threatened. Tall's expression hardened. Your emotional connection to simple animals is clouding your judgment. This was clearly an environmental malfunction. Liar, Daho shouted, his face red with anger. Security officers moved to separate them. Jinwoo pulled Hannah and Daho away. This isn't the way, he whispered. We need to be smart. Later that night, Jinwoo returned to the facility alone. Using his security clearance and skills from his past job, he accessed the building's systems. He found footage of Koru scientists adjusting the air vents just hours before the event. And in the hidden files, he discovered the formula for the toxin they had released, designed to harm Earth animals but not humans. Most importantly, he found a map of the secret lab where Miso and other animals were being kept. Back at Hannah's apartment, where they had taken her cats for treatment, Jinwoo showed them what he'd found. They did this on purpose, he said grimly. They wanted to see how we'd react when our pets were threatened. Daho looked at the map of the secret lab. Miso is in there. I'm getting her out. It's too dangerous alone, Hannah said. Jinwoo, usually quiet and reserved, surprised them both. She's right. That's why we're going together. Tonight. Outside the window, another Koru drone recorded their conversation, sending the feed directly to Ren's private lab. News of what happened at the diplomatic function spread quickly. Videos showed pets getting sick, while Koru scientists watched and took notes. People were angry. Jinwoo sat in his small apartment, watching the reports on his tablet. Dubyu lay beside him, still recovering from the effects of the device the Koru had planted on him. Look at this, Jinwoo said to Hannah and Daho, who had come over to plan their rescue mission. He showed them a news report. On the screen, protesters gathered outside Koru buildings around the world. Many held pictures of their pets. Others carried signs that read, "Pets are family," and "Earth stands together." It's happening everywhere, Hannah said. People are demanding answers. Daho looked determined. While everyone is distracted by the protests, we can get into the lab and find Miso. Jinwoo nodded. I have the security codes, but there's something else you need to see. He played a video that had just been leaked online. In it, Ambassador Tall spoke to other Koru in their private chambers. Jinwoo turned on the translation. These humans, and their pathetic attachment to lesser species, Tall said with a sound like laughter. It makes them weak and easy to manipulate. Show them a sick animal, and they lose all reason. The video spread across Earth's networks like fire. Even people who didn't have pets were outraged by the Koru's disrespect and deception. Hannah's phone beeped with a message. The Earth Council is calling an emergency meeting. They're considering ending all agreements with the Koru. Good, Daho said, but we're not waiting for politics. We're getting Miso and any other animals they're holding tonight. That evening, Jinwoo used his security clearance to get them into the research facility. Most staff had left because of the protests. Only a few guards remained. Jinwoo led them to a service elevator that wasn't on the main building plans. Using the codes he had found, he took them down to a hidden level. "Be careful," he whispered. "There are cameras everywhere." They moved quietly through dark hallways. Jinwoo had mapped the security system and knew when to stop to avoid being seen. Years of working in dangerous mines had taught him how to move silently despite his size. Finally, they'd reached a door marked Biological Research, authorized personnel only. "This is it," Jinwoo said, using a stolen keycard to open the door. Inside, they found a large laboratory filled with cages. Most contained cats and dogs. Some held other animals. All wore small devices similar to what had been planted on Dubu. "Miso," Daho cried, rushing to a cage where an orange cat meowed weakly. "Quiet," Hana warned. "We need to get all of them out." They began opening cages. Jinwoo carefully removed the devices from each animal before setting them free. He collected the devices as evidence. "What are these things?" Hana asked, looking at the small objects Jinwoo had gathered. "I'm not sure," Jinwoo said, "but I think they're testing different chemicals on the animals. Maybe looking for ones that affect humans through their pets." "Biological weapons," Daho said, holding Miso close. "They're developing weapons to use against us." Suddenly, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed in the hallway. "We've been discovered," Jinwoo said. "We need to move now." As they rushed toward the exit with the freed animals, a voice came over the speakers. "Attention humans," Ren said calmly. "You are interfering with important scientific research. Return the test subjects immediately." "Test subjects," Daho shouted at the ceiling. "They're not test subjects. They're living beings." "We have to split up," Jinwoo said. "Daho, take Miso and the evidence. Hana, take as many animals as you can carry. I'll create a distraction." "But Jinwoo," Hana began. "I'll be fine," he assured her. "I'm stronger than I look." As they separated, none of them realized that this night would change the relationship between humans and the Koru forever. Red alarm lights flashed throughout the lab as Jinwoo ran down a corridor away from Hana and Daho. He needed to draw the Koru security away from his friends. "Hey," he shouted, knocking over a cart of equipment. "I'm over here." 4 Koru guards immediately began chasing him. Jinwoo smiled. His plan was working. Meanwhile, Hana struggled to carry 3 cats and lead 2 dogs toward the emergency exit. The animals were weak from the Koru experiments, moving slowly. "Come on," she urged them. "We're almost there." Daho held Miso tightly against his chest with one hand. With his other hand, he carried the bag of evidence Jinwoo had collected. He followed close behind Hana. "The exit should be just ahead," he said. Suddenly, Ren stepped out from a side room, blocking their path. 2 more Koru guards stood behind him. "I'm disappointed," Ren said calmly. "This interference will set our research back significantly." "Research?" Hana said angrily. "You're torturing innocent animals and planning to use them as weapons against us." Ren tilted his head. "Not torture. Science. We simply needed to understand the extent of the human weakness for lesser creatures." Daho stepped forward, still holding Miso. The small orange cat was trembling against him. "They're not lesser creatures," he said in a low voice. "They're our family." Ren laughed. "Family? How can you call something that cannot even speak your language family?" "Family isn't about words," Daho replied. His eyes were hard and angry. "It's about the bond we share." A bond we will use against you if necessary, Ren said. He signaled to the guards. Take them. And collect all the test subjects. The guards moved forward. Hannah looked around desperately for a way out. The animals behind her whimpered in fear. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from the other end of the hall. Jinwoo came charging around the corner. Behind him were more than a dozen Koru guards, all trying to catch him. What happened next shocked everyone, especially the Koru. Jinwoo, who always seemed calm and quiet, moved with incredible speed and strength. He knocked 2 guards down with one sweep of his arm. He jumped over Ren, flipping in the air to land between the scientist and his friends. Go, he shouted to Hana and Daho. Get them out. I'll hold these ones off. The Koru had studied humans extensively. They knew human strength, speed, and agility. But they had never seen a human fight to protect others. They had never seen what humans could do when driven by love instead of fear. Jinwoo fought like a man possessed. Later, when the Koru filed reports, they noted that his strength seemed to exceed normal human limits by at least 40%. Hana and Daho ran past, leading the rescued animals. But instead of continuing to the exit, Daho stopped. I'm not leaving you, he told Jinwoo. Before Jinwoo could argue, Daho handed miso to Hana. Then he picked up a piece of broken equipment and stood beside Jinwoo. 2 is better than 1, he said. Hana reached the exit but turned back. She saw her friends surrounded by Koru guards. She couldn't leave them. Carefully, she set down the animals near the exit door. She whispered to them to stay. Then she grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and ran back to help. The 3 humans fought side by side. They were outnumbered and outarmed. By all logic, they should have been captured quickly. But the Koru had made a critical error in their research. They had studied how humans reacted when their pets were threatened. They had analyzed the chemicals released in human brains, the increase in strength and determination. What they hadn't understood was that humans would fight just as hard to protect each other. The bond between humans was as strong as the bond with their pets. And when a human fought to protect both their animal companions and their human friends at the same time, that was something the Koru had never seen before. 3 days after the rescue mission, Jinwoo, Hana, and Daho sat in a large meeting room at the Earth Council headquarters. Their cuts and bruises from the fight were still visible. Beside them, in special carriers, were Dubu, Bomb, Nabi, and Miso. Across the table sat Ambassador Tall and several other Koru officials. Ren was notably absent. The evidence is clear, said the Earth Council president. The Koru were developing biological weapons to use against humans through their pets. The room was silent. The videos, the devices Jinwoo had collected, and the medical tests on the rescued animals all proved what had happened. This is a serious violation of our treaty, the president continued. What do you have to say, Ambassador Tall? Tall's 4 hands moved nervously. We admit that certain research methods were inappropriate. Ren has been removed from his position. But you must understand, we were simply trying to learn about humans. By hurting innocent animals? Daho asked, his voice tight with anger. By planning to use them as weapons against us. We did not understand, Tall said. He looked genuinely troubled now. In our culture, we have never formed bonds with other species. We saw your attachment to these animals as a weakness to study. And now? Hana asked. Now we are reconsidering, Tall admitted. The strength and courage you 3 showed to rescue these animals was remarkable. Our scientists have been analyzing the data. No Koru would fight so hard for another species. Or for each other, it seems, Jinwoo added quietly. Tall nodded slowly. That is also true. The way you stood together, refused to leave each other behind. It is not how Koru would behave. The Earth Council president leaned forward. So what happens now? We wish to start again, Tall said. A new treaty with clear rules about respecting all Earth life, not just humans. And we would like to learn more about this bond you share with animals, not to exploit it. but to understand it. 1 month later, Jinwoo walked through a park with Dubu beside him. The old cat moved slowly but seemed happy to be outside. Ahead, Jinwoo could see Hana and Daeho waiting on a bench. Bomb, Nabi, and Miso played nearby. But they weren't alone. Ambassador Tall was with them, watching the cats with great interest. Jinwoo, Tall greeted him as he approached. "Thank you for coming. You said it was important," Jinwoo replied. "Yes." Tall seemed nervous. "I have been studying human-animal relationships, not as a military strategy, but as a cultural exchange, and I have a request." Tall reached carefully into a bag and pulled out a small carrier. Inside was a tiny kitten with gray fur. "This animal was found abandoned near our embassy," Tall explained. "I am told it needs a home. I thought perhaps you could teach me how to care for it." Jinwoo, Hana, and Daeho exchanged surprised looks. "You want to adopt a cat?" Daeho asked. "Yes," Tall said. "I believe it will help me understand humans better, and perhaps help Koru learn something we have been missing." Jinwoo smiled and sat beside the ambassador. "First rule of caring for a cat. You don't own them. They own you." "I don't understand," Tall said, confused. "You will," Hana laughed. "Just give it time." Tall carefully opened the carrier. The kitten stepped out cautiously, looking around at the strange aliens, both human and Koru. "What will you name her?" Daeho asked. Tall thought for a moment. "Bridge, because she will be a bridge between our species." The kitten sniffed Tall's hand, then climbed onto his lap. After a moment of hesitation, Tall gently stroked its fur. The kitten began to purr. "I feel strange," Tall said, his voice full of wonder. "That's the beginning of a bond," Jinwoo explained. "What you once called our weakness. But it does not feel like weakness," Tall said softly. "It feels like strength." As the sun set over the park, two different species from distant worlds sat together, united by the simple purr of a small gray kitten, a sound that bridged the gap between stars.